9 reasons why SJWism mimics abusive relationships. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and if you're watching this channel, there's a 95% possibility that you have been abused by fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice warriors. It's a problem that is beyond a pattern. It is an entire career for several of these people, and if I were a conspiracy theorist, I would say that is probably not an accident. A friend of mine who is very smart and a fellow pioneer of the alt-left by the name of Samizdat Broadcasts said the same thing as I did, which is that the regressive left is up to something. That's what we both think. We don't have any proof. I do not think this propaganda campaign stemming from feminist blogs and university humanities and social science programs was an accident. I do not believe for a moment that Anita Sarkeesian is a mere con artist who is out to simply make money. The level and gravity of her lies is not just obscene as an individual person acting alone, but the entirety of leftist media is doing everything they can to cover for her. And the fact that she spoke at the UN trying to redefine harassment in terms of calling somebody a liar seems far from a coincidence. When a world-famous feminist liar is trying to internationally outlaw being called a liar right before an election when the most powerful feminist liar maybe ever in history is running for president of the United States on a globalist platform, it shouldn't be impossible to put two and two together. But I digress. The patterns of this abuse seems calculated to me as it mimics very well-known patterns of abuse that I have learned about through the years. You see, emotional and even physical abusers naturally develop psychologically manipulative patterns to keep their partners in line. And propagandists simply have to know about these techniques and take them a step further to inflict them upon the masses. Let's begin. Number 1 is what they call battered wife syndrome. This is what happens when a woman or man is so terrified of being hurt by their partner that they will defend them relentlessly to anybody trying to stop the abuse. The textbook example is a woman in public who gets slapped across the face and somebody threatens to call the cops, only to be met with the woman either pleading with them or aggressively screaming at the person interfering not to get involved. On the surface, this is confusing to most people, but the truth is that the victim knows that as soon as she is alone with the abuser, it will only get worse if somebody interfered prior and got the perpetrator in trouble. The abuser terrifies the victim into fighting against being helped. Now, I can imagine that this is hard to tie together with SJW bullies, but I saw this just today on a Facebook friend's timeline. This person was ganged up on so relentlessly for a minor infraction of being perceived as being non-PC, and even after repeated apologies, people wouldn't let it rest. It got to the point where some of this person's friends were arguing with the crybullies, but this poor person ended up telling people not to argue with those who were supposedly offended. No, they made a specific point to tell people not to interfere. And when I said, fuck that, I'm not going to let them abuse you like this, and I gave a few of them a piece of my mind, he, my friend, ended up blocking me. Battered wife syndrome right there. I imagine it happens more commonly than people think. Number 2, they get their friends involved. What happens is that a person will constantly talk shit about their partner and try to shame them around their friends. Let's say that the person being abused in this instance tries to be firm and say, hey, you did something bad. You can't fucking treat me that way all the time. Well, instead of apologizing like a more healthy relationship or working it out, they will make a joke out of it and say to their friends, let's say it's a girl and she says, can you believe my boyfriend is mad at me because I left him stranded at a rock show? I wanted to go home and it was really loud. Why the fuck am I supposed to care that it's your friend's band that was in from out of town? Why can't they just give you a ride or something? Don't they have a big van or whatever? She'll say that right in front of all of their mutual friends. And sometimes the friends will laugh along, but not always. A lot of the time their friends will think the girl is being kind of a piece of shit, but they aren't sure what to say, like, what do you say then? Remember that I say that because it will relate to the next form of abuse. When SJWs do this behavior, it isn't always exactly the same. Usually it's more along the lines of tagging a bunch of their friends to come attack you, so it's kind of different. They know that they are in the wrong, so they try to dogpile with their friends as their way out of it. It's quite similar in mentality. Number 3, they lie to you about what other people think of you. This ties into the times in which abusers get their friends involved in their personal conflicts. After they tried to embarrass you in front of their friends by complaining about how much of an asshole or bitch you are, they will go on and on about how their friends don't really even like you anyway all that much, and that you are lucky that you are put up with by them. This by itself is super common with couples, so don't think that it is always a sign of inherent abuse, but it certainly comes along with it. Keep in mind that most abusive couples are co-abusive and that even healthier couples fight and do shitty things to each other. Regardless, a lot of the time that it gets really bad is when the abuser is blatantly lying about what people think about their partners, and they even know damn well that they are actually lying about them and that their friends are kind of like them. Sometimes they even feel sorry for the partner, the friends do, and even though they might have met the girlfriend or boyfriend through the abusive partner, they end up siding with them in the breakup and staying friends with them. I've seen it happen. I've probably maintained friendships with people that this has happened to. SJWs do this one to the nth degree because they'll do it to strangers on the internet. They will say how disgusting of a person you are, and that no self-respecting feminist or even woman would ever put up with your behavior, that all of their friends would think you are a joke, and that they feel sorry for any woman or trans person that you are friends with because they supposedly probably secretly hate you anyway. A fourth wave feminist even brought my mom into it the other night on Facebook when I called her arguing tactics cheap and nasty. She was like, "I wonder what your mother would think if she knew you called women cheap and nasty on the internet." I was almost tempted to tag my mother, who was a big fan of Christina Hoff Sommers, and see what my mother would have to say about it because it would have been kind of awesome. Number 4, gaslighting. The mess up thing about this one is that I did not even know what the term actually was until reading about it on the biggest source of cancer on the internet, Everyday Feminism. Gaslighting is a term used to describe times in which an abusive person lies about prior dramatic events to try to make it sound like everything was the fault of the other person. Now, I know I just gave the definition of this and you are thinking to yourself, oh, like feminists do all the fucking time on the internet about every argument they instigate. Yeah, no fucking shit. But it reaches an extra level of deviousness when they also start accusing you of gaslighting, which they do all the time. Seriously, feminists in comment thread arguments will start accusing somebody they don't know that they are arguing with of gaslighting them within that comment thread alone. As if a comment thread is similar to a meanly drunken boyfriend who tried to say that his girlfriend ruined his birthday party when in reality he got shit-faced and wanted to drive home, and his friends were like, dude, let's call you a cab. And then his girlfriend had to order an Uber while he wasn't looking. Gaslighting does, in fact, really happen. But when it gets thrown out over the internet, it becomes just like a shouting match between two siblings going, no, she's lying. No, he's lying. But gaslighting on the internet is a lot like farting. Pun intended. The first person to bring it up is probably the person doing it. Number 5. They cut you off from talking to other people who might talk sense into you. This is a pretty simple tactic. An emotionally abusive woman, for example, will tell you not to go hang out with your guy friends because she says she doesn't want you going to a strip club and doing cocaine, but really, she's just trying to break your spirit by separating you from the people who remind you that you don't deserve to be treated the way that she treats you. SJWs do this constantly. When somebody starts talking some sense on your Facebook timeline, they'll start lying and saying they were personally offended by that person's insensitive statements and that you have to delete them off your friend list. They'll make you choose between staying friends with them and your logical friends. Don't ever let them win in these scenarios and warn them never to do it again. If they keep trying to get you to unfriend your friends, tell them to fuck off and block them. Those are people you really don't need in your life. Number 6, They claim that they are the ones who are hurting. This is the basic pathology of the cry bully. Sure, your girlfriend is screaming and calling you names in a shopping mall in front of everybody, but then when you're alone, she'll make it all about her and her abusive past in relation to her father or whatever. She'll try to make you feel bad for her, even though she repeatedly uses whatever you are supposed to feel bad about as a way to abuse you. We've all seen SJWs do this to people, so I don't really need to explain this. They think it is perfectly acceptable to shame you and abuse you for being whatever you are because they or their people might have once been hurt by people who were kind of like you. It's abuse. Fuck them. Number 7. If I can't have you, nobody can. Okay, this one is extreme, I will admit. But I think feminists will do this to their own kind, in particular, in a similar fashion. Kathleen Hanna of La Tigra and Bikini Kill is a perfect example of feminist SJWs basically doing this to somebody they love or loved. You see, Kathleen Hanna was basically the punk rock megastar of third wave feminism, but has performed at the Michigan Women's Festival, which fourth wave feminists hate because it is supposed to be trans exclusive. Trans women can't come into it. That said, they made a huge deal about trying to get Kathleen Hanna to fully apologize and condemn the festival because she played at it. And when she wouldn't entirely do that, they have tried to ruin her and say that she is transphobic, even though she specifically said that she doesn't agree with their policy of not including trans women at the festival. A policy which I hear is actually very lax. They do let them in, they're just sort of not supposed to be there. I feel really bad for her because although I probably don't agree with her about everything, I always thought she was really cool and I like a lot of her music. Finally, number 9, they obviously lie about the abuse they inflict on you to others. No shit, really. Abusers have to cover up what they do to the people they abuse so that other people don't know. So they lie. A lot. This one is a no-brainer. Anita Sarkeesian lies through her teeth about her critics. Kat Black lies even about her fans if they disagree with her and make her look bad. And Milo Yiannopoulos has become a household name, basically based around exposing these lies. Don't let these people get away with it. That's all for tonight. Please drop me a like and stay tuned.